Hello everyone and welcome to this video where I will guide you through the new changes that dropped into the free update to the Actor Interaction plugin version 3. So first of all, thank you for using this plugin. You can find it on Marketplace. It's listed in the free plugins, or you can just get it from the GitHub. The GitHub contains all the new releases, all the previous releases, so if you find some versions working better for you, you can always get a different one there. And well, with no further ado, let's take a look what's new in this version. So first of all, as I said before, the update is completely free and the plugin itself is free. You can get it on the marketplace. You don't have to pay anything. You can use it in commercial projects everywhere. Completely free, no cost whatsoever. So, changes, let's start with the wrong one, with the bad ones. Engine version 4.26 is no longer supported on Unreal Engine Marketplace. That's because of Epic Games policies. You can only support up to 3 versions of the engine, and it must be always the last 3 versions. That means 4.27, 5.0, and 5.1. Those 3 versions are supported on from the marketplace. As you can see, I'm in 5.1, and this is the marketplace version I'm using here in this project. But if you're using all the project, the 4.26, you can always get the engine version from the GitHub. It's there, and if you don't know where to find it, just take a look at the description in the below the video, and there is link for support Discord and for the GitHub. So, other news, the old components, interactable and interactor, are now deprecated. They are still in the engine, they are still in the plugin itself, you still can use them, you still, no projects are going to break because of that, but those plugins components are no longer supported. They will receive no updates and they will receive no further, uh, no new features, no performance updates whatsoever. And that is because I moved with this version to new system with new type of components, and we split those components into 2 types like before: interactables, which are the objects, and interactors, which are the players or NPCs. But this time, as you can see, as it's selected here, each component has its own specific use. Before, we used enumeration to define what type of interactable this one is. This time we are using specific components. So if I'm going to add a new component and go to interactions, you can see there is multiple there's multiple interactions. There is auto interaction, hover, mesh, hold, press, and each of them are behaving slightly differently. We'll go over a few of them. You can see there are 2 versions: blueprint component and native component. The native component is a C++ component. The blueprint component inherits from this C++ component, and it provides you some additional way how to work with the plugin, with the components. So you can edit this component, you can add some conditions, it's stuff like this. So you are no longer locked to what I coded in C++. You can now enhance the flow of the interactions, or you can create your own using the predefined values. So like before, there is some settings. For instance, in the hold component, now it's all split into multiple categories. For debug, you can toggle debug and editor debug. Editor debug handles only the editor stuff, like you are missing values and stuff like this. Debug mode is for game debug. And now let's take a look at the real juiciest part. So in the required step, you can define some values: interaction period, that means how long it takes to interact and stuff like this. Most important are the setup type and collision channel. These 2 define, by the way, all variables have their meanings explained by descriptions. Setup type helps you to automatically set up everything, collisions, highlightables, etc. So you just drop the component into the actor, select setup type auto or full auto or one of those basically, and it will add all found components according to the settings to collisions and highlights. In some cases it might be very useful if you're using very simple actor. In some cases when you have multiple interactions within one actor like I have in here, it's easier to make it manually. And collision channel is to which collision channel this interactable responds to. So I definitely suggest to make your own collision channels. If you don't know how to, just go to the project settings, go to collision and add new collisions in here. And then you have optional stuff you can add here. You can add the collision overrides. This way you can add collision name of the collision or tag of the collision component. It can be either mesh component or collision component like box, sphere, or capsule. And this way you can add different collision shapes. You can make very complex collisions with no overlapping and stuff like this. The same applies to highlightable overrides. You can attach the interaction component to a root and make all the child mesh components highlightable for you. And this is the most important stuff, because in the previous version you had to use the nodes to add components to those arrays. Right now in this version all you need to do is just add the names here, or tags. Both versions work. You can add tag to the component or use the name, and both will work and will be handled for you. So, and of course the thing that was in the previous components, whether you even want some highlights, and this is specific for 5.1. If you are using overlay material, you will no longer use the post-processing material that's used in previous versions. So there are some few other additional details, like keys per which platform you are using. So you can easily switch visual icons in the widgets if you're using Windows or PS4, and you can specify which icon is for what input type and stuff like this. In general, it helps a lot when you really need to switch, for instance, the guidances in the UI and stuff like this. This is purely optional. It doesn't need to be filled up. It by default sets those values. You can see here. Those values are set in C++. You can always delete them. You can ignore them. You don't have to work with them at all. It's up to you. And there is additional, a small feature that wasn't done really well in the previous versions. In the previous versions, if you wanted to set up the data of this interactable, you had to use those predefined attributes. There was like 5 or 6 of them. If you wanted some more, you had to do it in your way, like it enhanced the C++ class and stuff like this. Not anymore. In this version, you can use data table and select which row from the data table you want to use. You don't need to use the data table is included, of course, without those inputs, because those inputs are related to the trailer scene. But these data tables included in the plugin itself. So once you open the plugin, you can edit this data table. You can add new rows there and use them there. And interactable name, again, something new. It's used mostly for UI stuff. For instance, when you are supposed to hold a key, this interactable name defines the name of the action you are doing. You don't have to use it. You can completely ignore it. It's definitely up to you. And for each component, this value is predefined. And there are some read-only values. You can access them from any blueprint in real time for debug purposes, like state of this interactable, what dependencies there are, and this debug only stuff that you are not supposed to change in real time or at all, but you are supposed to see it, because if something goes wrong, you can take a look at that and find out what is wrong. As I mentioned before, there are multiple options how to add those components, and now it's much easier to define which component is being interacted with, because there is so-called interaction wave, and interactions, higher the wave is, more likely the interactor is to respond to this one. So there is interaction wave of 1 on this table, but this ashtray with interaction press, it has interaction wave of 3. So if I hit play, and you can see that I've got this table selected, but if I go over to, oh, okay, there's compiling, here we are, and you see this table is now highlighted, but if I hover over the ashtray, you can see because it has higher interaction wave, now this ashtray is highlighted, and if I hover here, the table is highlighted again. So it responds to basically the interactor finds all interactables in its path and sorts them based on the wave, and interacts only with the one with the highest wave. So you can set up very complex interactions in your level, and thanks to that wave value, you can very easily sort them out. And there is one additional editor only adjustment that I did, and that is this icon you can see here. You can click on that icon and it selects the actor, and it very easily shows you the position of where the widget will be shown in the world. So you can see above this lamp here is this small icon of the Mountea project, and you can see the UI displayed right where the icon was. So it's very simple. It's very simple way how to visualize which actors are interactable and where actually the UI will be shown. So for instance, here on this projector, you can see it's above it, and if I hit play, you can see the icon is glowing above this projector. Speaking of the glowing, I've added multiple new widget blueprints, which are well optimized and are using very little space on disk, so are very fast to load. And I generally suggest to use those. However, you can still use the old ones with this new system. The widgets are not limited in any way, and we are using, in this case, it's hard coded, so those widgets are accepted. So if I, instead of this one, go to use one of those examples, for instance, I don't even know which one this is, but let's use it and see. You can see it shows up. So it works. Yes, there are some issues because some of the older examples might not take the data properly, but that's something that is very easy to fix usually. Just take the data from different input. So let's take a look at the component again, and you can see that there are two buttons. One is toggle debug, which does just toggling the debug mode. It's just conveniently placed there, and other one is set default. If you somehow manage to break the interactable component, you can always set defaults. It will overwrite your settings. You can take a look that example 4 is currently selected, and let me collapse those so you can see it. If I set defaults, you can see it sets the defaults. Defaults are stored in config file, and you can adjust that from project settings. Scroll down and there is Mountea Framework. If you open these settings, you can define what interactable data you are using as default ones, how often the widgets are being updated, if even the editor debug is enabled in general, and what is the default widget class for interactions. So if you somehow break all the logic there, or just use some weird widgets or something like that, don't worry, you can always hit the set default. It will reset this interactable component to defaults, and then everything is going to just work. That's most about the new update, how to set up the components. It's very similar to the previous way of setting up those components. You just need to go here, select. You can select the blueprint class or even select the static mesh in the level, and you can add, for instance, press component in here, and the default settings, set defaults. You got everything filled up, and all you need to do here is go to required, change the collision channel to the one you are using. I'm using interaction trace, setting the default state to awake, and I actually think that is all I need. Let me quickly place this one like here somewhere, and let me quick auto setup. That should take the collision from the static mesh which it's attached to, and as you can see, there is the widget, and I'm going to quickly update in the optional settings. Let's use the overlay material, and oh, I lost this one, never mind. And it's actually a good thing because I can show you how you can see the plugin stuff. There are two ways. The easiest one is to browse here, and it will take you to the plugins folder within the engine, and there is a lot of stuff. The UMG contains all the widget blueprints. Textures are there, textures of keys for your UI. And we are looking, actually in this case, for materials. There is a bunch of them. Most of them are for UI or post-processing, don't worry about it. But there is one overlay material, and let's use this one. Just plug it there, display, and you can see this easy it is to set up these interactions. I think it's pretty cool, and if you still need something, if you still need something to help with, if you are not sure how to set something up or you have any issues, don't worry. There is a new button in the ribbon here, which opens the Discord support channel and basically drops you in there, and you're always I'm always there, I'm always online, and if I'm not, I'm trying to respond as soon as possible. And there is a bunch of people who already know how to set up this plugin, and they are very amazing. They're always willing to help. So if you feel lost, don't worry, just click the button, join the Discord. If you don't want to click the button, it's fine. The link to the Discord is in the description. And yeah, thanks again for using the Mountea interaction system, and see you in the next video. Bye!